Good afternoon, everyone. And after that very inspiring address by the Chief Minister, where he touched upon various issues, including, very interestingly, saying there is going to be a Dravida Model 2.0. And that presumes, as my colleague was saying, that the DMK is coming to power again. And with that, let's turn to Dr. Palnivel Thiagarajan, the dynamic Minister of Information Technology and Digital Services for Tamil Nadu, a veteran, and always a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, first, thank you for having me. I was just reminded that I met you for the first time when you came for the first South Conclave when I was an opposition MLA, and my Chief Minister was the leader of the opposition. Yes. And we both participated at that time. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. I'm glad to see that it's now in its 6th edition. And you've gone from strength to strength. So thanks for having me back.
Thank you. As he's known, PTR, if I may call you that. And one of the things, you've worn several hats, and now you've moved into information technology and digital services. And for the past 2 years, you've been steering a digital transformation of Tamil Nadu, and you've got a citizens first approach. So before we get into this system of looking at skill development and for the future jobs, let's look at what is the big changes you've made in terms of the citizens and service to the citizen through the digital mode, and how different it is. We had Nara Lokesh yesterday come and talk about how he is trying to transform whatever he's doing in terms of WhatsApp and everything else. What is the big difference you brought into this?
Well, I think all of us have broadly the same problem, and that is that we need to make the delivery of services more equitable and more efficient and reduce the likelihood of friction through personal interactions. These are broadly the ambitions. Some of this is thrust upon us. If you look at the headcount of overall government employees, it's going in the wrong direction compared to the citizens or the amount of services. Some of it is by integration of various programs and schemes and databases the government has to reduce, leakages, increase efficiencies and so forth. But mostly I think for all of us it is to use the latest technology available and find ways to get the citizens, the services and the, let's take simple things like certificates or a driving license or a ration card or, any of these things which used to be laborious and with forms and all of that, to try and make it as automated as possible. So most of us have an e-service center. Either you can do it online by yourself or you go to one of these e-service centers. After I came, for example, as department, we've expanded the number of e-service centers by some 300%, from 8 or 9,000 to 30,000, and make sure that there's one within reach of every human being. Now, like Andhra, we're also in the WhatsApp phase, and we increase the number of services you can get answers to by actually just sending in a WhatsApp message. So it is both a necessity and I think an ambition to increase the quality of the citizen government connect. It is a necessity because the amount of services and the amount of complexity keeps increasing and the number of people keeps going down. And it is a desire and an ambition because penetration of the internet keeps increasing. And we think that in every way possible, doing it touchless or faceless like the income tax does actually improves outcomes quite a bit.
My colleague Pramod Madhav is here, who's Associate Editor for India Today TV, heads the Tamil Nadu Bureau. Pramod, you might have some questions too.
I sure do a lot of it, sir. Thank you so much for being here. The one important aspect about Minister Thiagarajan is that, as far as I know, he takes along the ancient tradition along with technology. I'm sure he will agree with that with me. So, sir, I have one question. This is about the artificial intelligence, because you are somebody who always keep thinking way ahead. And Tamil Nadu government, especially the Chief Minister, we just saw him talk about Dravidian model and such. But have you also thought about, as an IT minister, to include artificial intelligence into your governance?
Absolutely. I mean, there's two aspects of it. From a governance aspect, it is vital. I've said it many times before. I'm not actually, maybe I'll just take a 60-second segue. I'm not that convinced that artificial general intelligence is upon us yet. All these large language models throw out so much nonsense. Back if there are tech people like I used to be, there's an old adage in the database business says garbage in, garbage out. You can only analyze the data you have. And when you try to analyze everything, you're getting a lot of nonsense data into it and you're starting to see hallucinations, slop, they have terms for it now, made up judgments, things like that. So you leave those out. But in a narrow way, the state is the holder of the greatest amount of data. By definition, it is all valid data. I have a birth certificate, I know your health records, I know your community, your income, your benefit schemes, etc. And so, even if you say you're doing everything electronically, even a WhatsApp requires somebody to have a smartphone and a data connection. The great luxury of AI is that we can do this by voice. And assuming everybody can speak, even if they can't read or write, then AI-based services with automated voice recognition processing through the government's own relatively 100% pure databases is, to me, the actual democratizing kind of holy grail, that we can deliver all of these things to all the services, to all the citizens. That is the government's role. But the main agenda for your session here is to change, what is happening to the nature of work and how are we adapting to that. And that, I think, is really the key for a state like Tamil Nadu, because the bulk of our progress over the last century across various governments, across various regimes, has been through a focus on the human element. We have kept the human capital second to none in terms of scale and, let's say, tertiary education enrollment, which is now 50% almost in Tamil Nadu. But that assumes a particular path of life. For example, we graduate almost 2 lakh engineers a year. But if you see for the last 10 years, I would say overwhelming majority of them ended up not doing civil or chemical or mechanical, but doing some kind of software IT job. Those jobs are not going to exist in the future, right? If it's that shallow a tech job that you can basically do it because you have enough engineering, understanding and science and math, that can probably get automated away. So we need to start thinking profoundly about what kinds of jobs will last, what will increase, what will disappear. You've already seen in all of your reports, in the magazine you had an article about the layoffs and the kind of reduced hiring in the base level services. But there will be huge growth in domain experts, in people who will check the ethics of the AI models, who will validate these models, and in areas where we have not yet actually stepped in, like the scale of greening, clean tech, healthcare services. As we have aging populations, Tamil Nadu is actually on the verge of becoming an aging society. So these kinds of places require a lot of human beings. You see, a lot of this is about the socio-political construct. It is not about technology. The best AI models can diagnose much better than most doctors, in fact, probably better than any doctor. But none of us would be comfortable allowing the model to deliver a result to a citizen without somebody taking responsibility for it in a system of licensing of medicine that we have as a society. So I think we need to think a lot. Now, I have something called the ICT Academy in my department, which is one of the best government training entities in IT. It's 15, 17 years old. We have offices in 12 states. We run annual conferences. I was here in this very hall about 2 weeks ago to run one of our annual conferences here. We are working on the kind of lagging edge, because that's this year's graduates, current college students. Where we really need to be thinking about this is starting in elementary school. What are the kinds of things we need to teach our children in an age where what the internet did to knowledge, it democratized it, it made it universally accessible to anybody who had internet connection. AI is going to do to a lot of mundane white-collar jobs. It's going to automate them away. So what is it that we should be teaching our children when the nature of the job market, not today, but in the next 20 years, is going to change dramatically? And our Chief Minister has already got a focus on that. We're working with companies like Google and Microsoft and trying to change the curriculum and the approach to education starting from the elementary school upwards, and that includes the faculty. You have to teach the teachers first to go that way. Sorry, long answer. Yeah.
Well, taking off from what you said, if you look at Coimbatore, it's got the salubrious climate that, say, Bangalore has has the entrepreneurship. Of course, that's moved in different directions, and Bangalore became the Silicon Valley for India. So if Tamil Nadu had to have an alternative, attractive place, one, would you choose Coimbatore? And, skill development is a very important component of that. And how would you encourage startups in tier 2 cities like Coimbatore and around?
I would say the great luxury of Tamil Nadu, it's the most urbanized state in the country. So we probably have half a dozen cities that are a million and a half plus. Urbanization gives you some benefits. It also gives you some costs if you do urban planning less than ideally, which we are facing sometimes. But in some sense, Coimbatore is an ideal location because it doesn't have the natural disaster risk that a place like Chennai has. It has relatively good connectivity. It has a very pleasant climate, as you say, and it's bordering, a neighboring state that also has a good talent pool. So if you go back even 100 years, Coimbatore has always been an engine of industry and enterprise. And that is starting to translate now into the tech in general, but AI in particular. I myself came and opened a company about 6 months or 8 months ago. They are suppliers of image processed for machine learning for automated vehicles. So it's like 300-seat office I opened here through a person I met when I was on a tour of the Bay Area last year. And she committed and she came and opened an office here. So Coimbatore has many advantages, much like some of the other second-tier cities, but particularly Coimbatore has a lot of colleges, a lot of talent. I would say the civic amenities are even better in some sense than they are in Chennai. Like if you see the last 5-10 years, the access is very good, a lot of international flights here. And of course, everything starts with the talent, but as you say, the climate, the mindset, this has always been a growth and industrial mindset kind of city. So even when I was an MLA, I used to get invited here so often that I joked that people asked whether my constituency was Madurai or Coimbatore because there was so much happening in Coimbatore that I'd get invited all the time to participate. And I've probably been here 4 or 5 times in the last 3 months. So that's how much activity is going on here. From our department's perspective, we are expanding all of our platforms from the ICT Academy to the IT&T. We started something called the Information Technology Hub of Tamil Nadu after we came to office and I was then finance minister. I funded it. All of these we are setting up regional campuses or regional offices and of course ICT we always had in Coimbatore. And we are making sure that people are supported wherever the talent is rather than forcing the talent to come, particularly to a place like Chennai, which has got big city problems like Bangalore and so forth. So we are trying to support development in second-tier cities generally. Some second-tier cities are inherently more industrious and better talent equipped than others, and so they get the benefit of it even more. And we have announced, when I was finance minister, I announced this back 2 years ago. We had some problems with it. But 3 integrated high-tech cities. One in
Coimbatore was one of them?
Yeah, one in Hosur, one in Coimbatore, and one in North Madras. And the one in Coimbatore, we've had some issues with the land because it's too close. It's next to, it's actually Bharadiyar University, kind of northwest Coimbatore. And we've had some issues because of the Hakka regulations and so forth. But the plan for these integrated cities was to compete with the likes of Bangalore or Hyderabad, which have seen a lot greater growth in civic amenities and kind of nightlife and social aspects, which we have not quite kept up with in some ways. So these were integrated commercial plus residential plus hospital plus school plus malls plus theaters plus, all of it together. And we hopefully will get at least kicked off. The other major commitment which my chief minister has had is that in my department, Elcott has a SEZ, which is on the main road between the airport and the city. It's on the other side of this airport. And there we already have a bunch of companies and we have some tidal park, but my chief minister has announced in November that we will have a 3 million square feet AI dedicated IT co-developed with private developers, world-class office space. So we are betting heavily on Coimbatore as a government because the talent pool is here. Yeah.
I'm sure Coimbatore, yes, we'll be very happy to hear that. Pramod, go ahead.
In fact, I was going to ask you about that because knowing the IT minister's capability, already inquiries are starting about whether we know that the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister has also said that Tamil Nadu Dravidian model is paving the way for whole of India. And we know about the artificial intelligence engines. So is Tamil Nadu also planning, we've seen how Tamil Nadu government is actually planning with various parallel way of working. So does Tamil Nadu government also have any plan, especially PT Tyagarajan, to create an AI engine for the people of the state?
Yeah, I think, look, as I say, I think more targeted, call them small language models, if you will, or purpose-built automation. I mean, AI basically is like saying the machine will learn itself, will program itself, I don't need to do it. So in some sense, the analogy I give is that industrial automation, when I was a factory consultant going back, 1980s in the US or 1990s, we knew that automation was coming. But, manual labor still paid back in those days in manufacturing, $80,000, $90,000 a year in compensation. I'm saying in that day's dollars, not today's. And then it took 20, 30 years and it happened, phase by phase. But now if you go look at a car factory, anybody who's ever been to a car factory, let's say 30 years ago like me, you can't recognize, it's like ghost town. The robots can do everything. The flexibility and the cost of robotics and automation has come down so much that there are hardly any human beings left. They just monitor the machines, right? So, and of course sometimes they go wrong. A friend of mine is big in the dairy business and I went to he took me out to see his automated ice cream factory. And the error rates, in my opinion, are too high. Like you shouldn't waste that much ice cream. That's a sin anyway. But, the automation comes in its own way. The same thing I think is going to happen to technology. I think the more limited your ambition and the purer your data set, the more likely you will go to fully successful voice-based or easiest interface automation through AI. And the government is doing its own preliminary work on that. I would say we have something that it was announced in 2020 or something by the previous government, which is the notion of integrating all the different databases we have with privacy controls, but trying to figure out how we can provide citizen-centric benefits, programs, services instead of department-centric or budget-centric. Right now, in agriculture alone, we probably have like 240 schemes. Incidentally, I have a quick question. When we started doing this exercise, we started tracking how many benefit schemes are there. Like we have Pudumai Pen or, Kalanger, Magalir, Urumai Toge, but like those schemes, subsidies or grants or whatever, how many such schemes can we find in the government of Tamil Nadu? Take a guess. I'm not saying we're comprehensive, but let's say after 2 years of effort, how many schemes do you think we have?
Pramod, you're more on the ground.
Schemes are multiple. I can even say like major
pick
schemes.
Number, 100, 200, 300. Right? Some random, close enough, approximation.
I should say at least more than 150, if I'm correct.
The last count we had 565 or something like that, right?
Let's give him a warm round of applause for that.
We were able to get like 380 of these decent data. Now we start integrating them and we're starting to realize what are complementary, what are overlaps. So back again when I was finance minister, I started a lot of this initiative because we had given a campaign commitment to waive some loans on agricultural loans with gold pledging. It's a long story, not worth going to details, but we got such good outcomes that we decided we'd ramp up, though it was the predecessor government that announced it, had not done anything to it. And now, because it's happening in my department under the Tamil Nadu E-Governance Agency, we are finding, for example, one family is benefiting from 23 different schemes of the government of Tamil Nadu. We have schemes on the other extreme where in the entire state, only 10 people are benefiting from the scheme. So, the second order benefits we'll get from this, because every government comes and announces some scheme, and then it perpetuates. But, if you every now and then could clean houses. So the data integrity and the automation of beneficiary selection, I think, is the lowest hanging fruit for where AI can basically help us in the governance.
One of the things you mentioned with a lot of replacement happening of human capital, So there's a need for a different kind of skilling.
Yes.
What are you doing on that? We had a session here we talked about, and we saw the gaps that was there in skilling. 90% of our workers are unskilled. Okay, if you're going to skill them, which areas would you now focus and which centers you'd like to really develop in Tamil Nadu?
Well, again, it's not my portfolio, but I would say broadly there are three aspects of education and skilling that I think we should be thinking about. The first is, what if the machine is smart enough to learn and program itself? What is it that makes a human different than the machine? Right? And in a way, that is something that we have lost, and I've said this multiple places, it's worth repeating. At one point, education was about making people more humane, more erudite, more thoughtful, more aware of history, more, urbane, better citizens, better human beings. Now we have almost all education is intended to get you to a job and to a salary and to outcomes, right? And so we have lost a lot of things in the process. And actually, if the machine can do a lot of the stuff that you otherwise were going to get educated to do, maybe we should go back to creating more thoughtful, more empathetic, better citizens, better human beings as one aspect of it. Second is, no matter what the machine does, our socio-political economic construct will require human beings to supervise these machines, to validate the ethics of it, to be the signers to take human accountability. So I would say in almost every field, there will be greater need for deep knowledge, enough to gauge whether the machine is doing its job properly. So it's almost like a return to the basics, right? I'll say it slightly differently. At one point, there was a lament in the US at least that because finance paid so much, the entire cream of the youth was shifting to finance careers. Through globalization, securitization, there was 100 reasons for it. But bond traders who once used to make 50,000, 80,000 a year and consider having a second job started making 10 million, 15 million a year, and it just drew the talent away from doing any research or medicine or other things like that. That changed after the crisis and a lot of things. The same way, I think the age of AI is going to take away the notion that everybody can be some kind of generic IT service person. And you're going to go back to being specialist at something, at biology, at civil engineering, at, food safety. Something that actually is a real skill other than the marginal efficiency of making the machine do the job better. And so I think all these changes, that's why I say earlier, we'll have to start at the kind of elementary school level. What kind of citizens do we want to have? And what kinds of qualities of humanity will still be relevant if the machine can automate 90% of what human beings used to do.
Right.
And there's many examples. If you look around the world, there's places where automation has reduced the number of jobs but increased the compensation because they need to supervise the machine. There's places where automation has increased the number of jobs but made them so low level that the per person compensation has come down, meaning it's more like just tick the box. So there's a lot of history on these kinds of analyses, and there's a couple of papers from my old university, from MIT, that has looked into this. And the prognosis is good. There will be more jobs created than destroyed, but there will be a lot of change, and I think we need to adapt for that.
Last question, Pramod, we've got a minute.
Sir,
so quick and fast.
So very clearly you mentioned that you are equipping the children of the state of Tamil Nadu to be AI friendly or AI aware. Can you give us one or two steps taken for that? And it's a hypothetical but a very interesting question that's been put forward already. In case you are creating an AI engine, what would you name it?
No, we're actually investing a lot in Tamil language databases and Tamil language models through my TVA, Tamil Virtual Academy, and we're working with Bhashini and a lot of the national districts. So naming and all is the realm of the Chief Minister. I won't get into that.
Would you suggest?
But I would say that from an education perspective, I think we have 2 million odd people trained in partnership with Google through some of the things. My education minister was here yesterday, right? I don't know if he mentioned some of it. My colleague was here in the event yesterday, Anbil?
Yes,
yeah.
He was there.
And then in ICT Academy, we are trying to train a lot of the faculty of these institutions about the notion of learning, because it's a bit late stage. We're just now helping them adapt on the margin to teach properly, you'll have to start at the basics, and only that'll take a generation to implement. Yeah.
Okay, we are bang on time and out of time as well. Always, Dr. Tyagarajan, always a pleasure to listen to you. Brought out very important points, both in terms of citizen services, looking ahead, skilling for the future, the role of AI. For all of them, invaluable insights. Ladies and gentlemen, please give PTR or Dr. Conclave Tyagarajan a very warm round of applause. Thank you so much.